At ease, brothers. I want to talk about why identity is everything. I want to talk about why I'm always saying that a man must know who he is. Identity must be a man's priority, man. And I always think about this. I always think about like soul, is that really should that really be a man's priority? But a man's identity is everything, bro. And the thing is, it's a complex conversation because when I'm talking about a man must know his identity, it's on different levels. You know what I'm saying? We always talk about as above, so below. So that identity in the spirit world is just as important as that identity in the physical world or the third dimension. So it's levels to it, right? But I'll speak on it first on the lower end, on this third dimensional plane, man. The reason why a man's identity is everything, or the reason why a man must ask himself that question every single morning, who am I? Is because if nothing else, it's letting him know what he's aligned to. You know what I'm saying? Like I always say, man, that the far majority of men have a lot of thoughts, have a lot of ideas, but very few men have vision. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you're putting life into those thoughts and life into those, ideals, right? Very few men have vision, man. So when a man wakes up and he asks himself that question, or when a man goes to bed at night and asks himself that question, it's really letting him know what energy he's moving in. It's really letting him know what state he's in. It's really letting him know if he's aligned to the vision that he's created. It's letting him know. In other words, when a man shuts down at the end of the day, he should be able to look back at his time in meditation and his thoughts. He should be able to look back at his actions. He should be able to look back and look at the social media or the movies or the music he entertained and ask himself, like, who am I? Like, am I aligned with that vision? And quickly understand if he is or if he isn't. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important, brothers. And to be honest, man, you can ask a man who he is, or a man can ask himself that question. But the only thing a man has to do to really get the truest answer is to look around. Look around himself. You know what I'm saying? Look at the fruit he's created. Look at his life. Look at his circle of friends. Look at his bank account. Look at the relationship he has with his significant other or his parents. Look at the conditions he's living in. For a man to really understand what his identity is, man, all he has to do is look around, brothers. You know what I'm saying? It's evident, man. But again, the primary reason for that is to make sure he's aligned with that vision. Because again, it's easy for us, man, to sit down and get inspired by, some convention we went to. It's easy to get inspired by some YouTube video. It's easy to get inspired by putting yourself around positive people and then having these thoughts. But again, man, these thoughts aren't vision. These thoughts are irrelevant unless you're waking up every day and every part of your being is inserted into that. That's one of the reasons why a man must know who he is. Because it's his identity is governing what he's going to create. His identity is governing the path he's traveling, bro. But on a much deeper end, man, on the higher end of that conversation, when I say a man must know who he is, when we talk about the spirit realm, the reason a man must know who he is, man, is because if a man doesn't understand really what it means to be made in the image of the Creator, man, I can only imagine the fear and the grief and the a list of other words that a man will experience just by not knowing that, not understanding why his life is doing a certain thing, not understanding, and I say understanding that he's made in the image of the Creator, not understanding why certain scenarios keep presenting themselves to him. It's much deeper, and it's a much more real conversation when you're talking about a man's identity on the inside or the spirit world, man. And what I really mean is you really have to understand how things are created, right? To understand what I'm saying. Like the reason a man must understand who he is in the spiritual world, because you really have to understand how things are created. And that takes us back to, Hermetic texts, when it talks about, and I say this all the time, brothers, when I say that, the only thing that's considered real is God. The only thing that's considered real is this ether or this thinking stuff around us. Everything else, like the Kabbalion says, is simply an interruption into this thinking stuff. I'm gonna say it again, man. The only thing that exists is real, to be honest, is what can't be seen in this world. Like when I look around myself and I see this mic, I see this couch, I see this camera, I look outside, I see the homes built. These aren't the things that are real. It's everything. It's the only thing that's in that space. This ether is the only thing that is real, because this ether is what God is, man. And like the Kabbalion said, when thoughts are put into this ether stuff, matter is made real. Matter is come to be, rather. Comes to a third dimensional reality, right? So this is why it's important that a man must know who he is, especially on that spiritual side. Because if the thoughts that a man put in this ether are what's creating his reality, think about this, man. I'm not sure who did the research, but think about, and you can Google this, man, where it says that a person has anywhere between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day. Think about what that does to your reality. I'm going to say that again, man. If thoughts going into this thinking stuff, if what you think and put into this ether is what's creating your reality, and you have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, think about how much that plays into your reality. Think about how much your thoughts play into your reality. That's why I'm saying a man must know who he is. A man must know who he is, because if you don't understand you're made in the image and you're a creator, just like, that you're creating just like the creator, then you really just disregard a lot of the things you entertain throughout the day. 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. What does that mean, soul? What that means is, you think you're talking to God when you go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. You think you're talking to God when you go to Jumu'ah, or you praying your 5 times a day, or you're going on a pilgrimage. You think you're talking to God when you've had this emotional day and you're driving home from work and you're cussing everybody out and you're asking God, why is my life doing a certain thing? That's what the majority of people think. They think that, I can just carve out a piece of the day and speak to my creator. But the truth is, you're speaking to your creator 24 hours a day. If you're having 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, you're speaking to your creator 24 hours a day. So the question is, what is it I'm saying? What is it that I'm putting into this ether that will manifest itself? What scenarios am I creating for myself 24 hours a day? What am I thinking? What ideas, what dollar amounts am I putting into my bank account? What level of health am I putting into my body? 24 hours a day. What am I entertaining? What am I thinking? That's why I say a man must understand this. Because when a man understands that what he's putting out into the ether 24 hours a day is what he's experiencing, he's cautious now. He's aware now. He's not just listening to any radio station. He's not just DMing everybody. He's just not watching random movies. He's not just putting himself in random low vibrational places. It's because now he's aware, brothers. Now he knows who he is. That's why I say, man, like by far, that's the most important thing. Like when a man wakes up in the morning, when a man goes to bed at night, he must ask himself, who am I? Like the moment I forget who I am, man, my life is getting ready to be all over the place. And I know for a fact right now, man, that a lot of people's lives are all over the place simply because of that. Simply because they have no idea who they are. They want to sit back and be the victim. All the government, all of this, all of that, all ladies are this, all men are, it's like think about what you're putting into the ether. Like if these are the thoughts you're having, if this is what you're putting out 60 to 80,000 times per day, then what else can you see? What else can you experience? How can you experience peace and joy and love and all these things if you're speaking and thinking something else? How can you experience abundance and living life on your own terms and just being able to do all these things that free-minded people can do if all you're doing is focusing on the negative? Looking at reasons on why you can't accomplish a certain thing. That's why I say, brother, the most important thing is, man, like a man must understand who he is, because once you understand who you are, your conversation is different. You know what I'm saying? The people you hang around are different. The things you want to talk about are different. The person you are is different. You're somebody else now, man. When you know who you are, you're a completely different person than you used to be when you didn't know. And to be honest, man, I'm going to tell you this. When was the last time you woke up and did exactly what you wanted to do? When was the last time you woke up and said, you know what? I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is, but I'm just going to wake up and be great. Be my own version of myself. I'm telling you, brothers, you haven't achieved true freedom until you can wake up and do that. Now, I've been talking about what it feels like to wake up every single day and it feels like Saturday. Now it's time I show you how I got to that point. Now it's time that I'm allowing people to work with me directly. I'm not talking about taking some course and never hearing from me. I'm talking about working with me directly. I'm talking about you networking with the people I'm networked with. I'm talking about you learning exactly what I did to get from corporate America to true freedom. I've been talking about this freedom for so long. I've been saying every day should be Saturday. Now is your time to click this button and learn from me directly. Let me show you the way. I can tell within moments if a man knows who he is simply by what he says. Simply by what he says. Simply by, again, and I always say this, simply by the lens he views the world through. Because when I say a man now knows who he is, that means he knows that he's made in the image of the Creator. That means that he understands that the vibration he walks in is what's creating his reality. And I can tell when a man talks from a place of not knowing. I can tell in his words. I can tell from his perspective when he speaks with a lack of power. He speaks with a lack of power, and it's just a lack of not knowing who he is. That's why I say identity is everything, bro. Identity is everything. So if this is true, what you're saying, so then what does that mean? In other words, if what you're saying is the thoughts that I'm having 24 hours a day that I'm putting into the ether is what's creating my reality, then what does that mean, so? It means that a man must be consciously aware of his state 24 hours a day. His state of being, his mentality, 24 hours a day. He must be aware of what that state is. He must be aware of what that vibration is. He must be aware of what he's putting into the ether. And once he's aware of that, I'm going to say this. Once a man is aware of that, then he can clearly see how this world, people, places, and things are always trying to snatch him out of that energy. You got to understand this, man. The people that don't know who they are, when they see you walking in a certain manner, even on a subconscious level, what they're trying to do is snatch you out of that. And it could be something as simple as making a comment about something you wear or something you're doing or who you with, or just something to throw you off balance. Just something that's taking you out of the state of knowing that you are made in the image. Once a person understands that, man, you will see it all over the place, man. So the most important thing, besides a man knowing who he is really understanding what vibration he's walking in, which I call prayer. Which I don't want to go through the whole schematics to get to that. But it's your prayer. A person is praying 24 hours a day. That's really what I'm saying. Like when I started the video off, I say you think you're praying when you go to church and go to altar call. You think you're praying when you go sit down in your bedroom and cut the lights out and go to meditation state and all this stuff. You think you're praying when you're prostrating toward Mecca. You think you're praying when you're in mask and you're putting holy water and oil on your face and all this stuff. You think that's prayer. But prayer is something that everybody is doing 24 hours a day. You can't not pray. If you think you can't not pray. So the thing is, man, is really just being aware of what your prayer is. And what your prayer is the 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts you're putting out 24 hours a day, man. It's everything. So again, like I always say, man, the most important thing a man must always be aware of is who he is.